Hi class. Our next lecture is about, okay, I've got an idea, and I'm interested in technology, so how do I apply it? And there's actually a couple of different ways you can do it. You can do it from the viewpoint of the technology itself, meaning you're interested in technology and I want to see how I can apply it. Or I could look at it from a market point of view, or from the products already out there, how do I make those better? And then finally, context. And so what criteria do I use? The way technology migrates is it starts out as an invention. The invention gets turned into a technology. The technology becomes an innovation. And from this innovation, that's where we get our products and services. To give you an example, the integrated circuit. The integrated circuit, yeah, just the circuit alone, what are you going to do with it? But you can turn that integrated circuit into things such as logic, processors, sensing. And from that point of view, in terms of trying to do an innovation with it, I can make, those individual things better, or I can start making instruments, and it gives me portability and other things. And from that, I get my products and services. Now, in terms of technology, you can kind of break it down into 4 areas. And this is the extension of you we're going into. What's the implication of these technologies? Well, the implication of electrical engineering is that it's basically my brain. And so now we're getting into processing and data. And so that's what electrical technology will give me. Mechanical technology can pretty much mimic any movement. And so I can fabricate anything regarding actuation. You are a chemical reactor. You are a whole bunch of chemical reactions just taking place. And so subsequently, based on chemistry, we can make better materials than what we are, later and stronger. And then finally, software. And software is about how we make decisions and actions. And so subsequently, you can look at any one of those fields and see how it relates to what you want to do. And in the last lecture, we talked about things like disintermediation and effects like that. What is it that people value? Very simple. It's either how much money can it save me? Essentially, what am I paying for? Am I getting the value back? Psychologically, emotionally, how do I feel when I use it? And how useful is it? How much convenience does it create for me? And what it comes down to is which one of these is significant. That's the first part. Now, in terms of frameworks, it all depends on what you're interested in. If you are interested in a specific technology, say like blockchain or something like that, well, I want to do something in blockchain, but I can't come up with an idea. Well, here are the 4 ways you can come up with an idea. You either look for the push, which is what's out there right now that people take no matter what. And an example is a good drug anybody's going to want. What is the pull? What is it that people always want? And that's like home care solutions for the elderly. What's trending right now? Well, software as a service is still a big deal. And what types of technology are we talking about? Are we talking about networks? Are we talking about platforms? Apple paid $2 billion for Oculus VR. And everybody thought it was insane. But the way Zuckerberg was looking at it, it's a platform. If it pans out, guess what? Platforms are worth far more than $2 billion. So we'll see. Maybe I'm looking at it I'm interested in doing ideation from a marketing point of view. And that means if I'm interested in a particular market, I'm looking at gap niches or differentiation, or I'm looking at how am I going to compete in that market. Like, I'm more interested in applying technology. How is that going to get it? Or maybe I just want to outcompete other people. So what do I look for? What's out there? Okay, there's something out there and I think it could be made better. And that's what the offering is. And so the product offerings out there are either products, markets, or operations. And finally, context is there's something out there in society that, I want to make a change in the world or whatever. And that's where you start getting to disruption, deregulation, and the issues related to that. Typically, your ideas are going to come from either being bottoms up or top down. Top down, meaning that there's a solution looking for a problem, or bottoms up, meaning I have a problem looking for a solution. And so typically solutions looking for a problem means I already have a technology and I think it's great, but I need to find out what that solution can apply to. Or what a lot of entrepreneurs do is look at the problems that are already out there. And so one way of doing that in terms of bottoms up is looking at the value chain, looking at what people specifically do. The thing is, there are some things in technology where there's just no end in sight, that there's always going to be opportunities. One is data. Our data is not going to get any less. The thing is, technology is complicated. People don't want to deal with complicated, which means there's always an opportunity in services. Security, guys are always getting around it. We need new ones. Food, air, and water are going to be the big physical challenges for us as this planet continues to grow in population. And we care about our health and our quality of life because we're getting older. You can go through this in terms of trends and trending markets. The thing is, VCs love trendy markets. They dump a boatload of money, and here are the areas that are still trending and still popular. The thing is, what's your timing? There's a certain window for you to get in there. And that's why VCs ask about your timing. It's like, why this product right now? And so products can be a good idea, but way before their time. And some examples are LiveJournal, which was Facebook long before Facebook was. The problem is that all you could post on it was text. There was no pictures or anything like that, and people got bored of it. Web TV, Bill Gates actually roasted Web TV. And what he said was that the computer experience and the web experience are two totally different things. But now, very acceptable. And the reason why is because a computer used to be an office tool. Now your computer is pretty much your entertainment tool too. It's your tool for everything. X-Band was actually thought up long before Xbox. The problem is back in 1995, most of the people were on dial-up. So it's kind of like, shoot him, shoot him! And it's like you didn't hear the command until like 20 minutes later. Yeah, not a very interactive experience. A Nintendo Power Glove. Essentially, it was big, clunky, and kludgy, and it didn't work very well because the inertial instruments weren't very good, and it wasn't later until we finally got the Wii. The Palm Treo was actually the first smartphone, and was made in 2002. The reason why the Treo never took off is because people didn't really want to use their... Well, first of all, the display wasn't big enough, but the second aspect was people didn't look at their phones as being, computing and business devices. They just thought of it as talking and organizing devices. And the thing is, between them and... I know I say the thing is a lot. I also say basically a lot. Without any kind of script, what am I going to do? But the big gap between the Treo and the iPhone was filled by BlackBerry. And BlackBerry showed that people were interested in getting their email on their phone. And that pretty much started the jump into the iPhone. And then the MS Spotwatch, well, that ran over phone lines also. And as you can imagine, it was slow and the displays were small. And the thing is, people haven't really shown, I said it again, sorry about that people are really interested in a wearable computing device yet. Part of the problem is the size. But what it comes down to is that you need an ecosystem around a product to be feasible. If the ecosystem isn't there, which is normally content and speed, not only that, but the user experience and interface, is it something that the user's going to want to do? The thing is, on cell phones right now, over 50% of people going to websites or doing certain things are accidents because people hit the wrong buttons. So the thing is, you have to deliver. And they had all great ideas. They could have been successful if they had come out at the right time, but the road's littered with these guys. The thing is, the infrastructure has to exist. And we're talking about displays, battery, Is there enough computing power for it? For example, part of the reason why it took Microsoft 10 years to get to market with Windows is because the infrastructure didn't exist. The processors weren't fast enough and there wasn't enough RAM. So Microsoft just waited. Summarizing the different topics that you can look for if you just have a specific technology and you're looking for it. Here's an example of tech that people are interested in, trends that are occurring, and also the pull of what's going on. Places to look for ideas of that tech can be applied to. Look at the news. I mean, you hear more about drones. People want safer guns to prevent people from shooting each other. Look at blogs. Look at a lot what's published here at ASU. There are ideas. Now, the thing about creating networks and platforms and technology, the power of a platform is how many users you have. What's the value of one cell phone? 0. Who are you going to call? And so that's why Metcalfe's law says the power is n squared. How much capacity do you need? What's driving it? For example, with Uber, it's a two-sided market, meaning you need somebody who needs a ride, and you need somebody who's going to provide it. Can you create something with externalities? And that's that by other people using it, other people benefit from it. And for those of you who took 310 with me, you know what critical mass is. And that's that. How many people do I have to get on board before this thing starts to run by itself? And typically you need between 10 or 15%. The thing is looking at the power of a network or a platform. When it's underpowered and growing, but then later on when you drop the price, you get a boatload of users. Well, you hit the critical tipping point where essentially people know who you are. You've crossed the chasm. And that's why the price can come down and you get more users. And that's referred to as also as the tipping point, whether you get over or you crash back down the curve. The impact that tech can have is it can make things scalable. It can improve what it does. It can make it customizable. Some of you I actually saw whose ideas, you're actually talking about customizable goods, which is a good idea, but at a boom. Anyway, disintermediation, how can I take out the middleman? And decentralizing networks. There was actually a network long before the internet. It was done by the French. The problem is that everything had to run through a central information network. And that was the problem with it. The internet is not centralized. It's distributed, and distributed are much more powerful. So here's an example of using a tech framework. Supposing I'm interested in a technology, and I have a technology where this metal can make batteries charge in only 1/4 of the time. So now, applying my framework, am I looking for push, pulls, trend, or types? I'm going to look for trends. And one of the big trends right now is the easy thing is to say the cell phone. But there's really not that much bang for the buck because a lot of people are pretty much used to charging their cell phones. The big area that needs help in charging time are actually electric cars. And so now I go do my research and find out about it. And there's a lot of opportunity there. From a marketing point of view, I'm looking at gaps. And you probably got this in other classes, niches and pain. Those are your opportunities. The gaps typically, how to find it, look at things being deregulated. That was actually the original business model of Enron. They would send lobbyists to Washington to deregulate things, and they'd have their business right there waiting for when the laws came off the books. Niches, carving out parts in markets that already exist, or finding pain points for people. Again, it's what I offer is exceptional. Can I make a sustaining profit? And is it difficult to copy? And so what I offer is exceptional. Means I'm either going to be the price leader, the product leader, or I'm going to know the customer better than anyone else. In terms of making sustaining profit is about my competitiveness or my product offering, and difficult to copy, same thing. So the thing about right now in technology, the big thing is about person to person. And a lot of different things are, and this is an opportunity to disintermediate things, whether it's Uber or Bitcoin. You go into business for yourself. And these are the industries that are vulnerable. It's like, where are good industries to remove the middleman? And one is real estate. I mean, right now, people look for houses online. The only thing they need their realtor for is to set up appointments to go look at them. But the other thing you have to look out for is that there are laws, and these laws limit what you can and what you can't do. So the rest of this lecture will be given in part 2.